Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our March edition of BrandBlitz, and I'm well aware that it's 4 p.m. on Thursday prior to Good Friday, so we're just going to get straight into it. We've got some updates this edition from Australian Monitor, Barix, RTI, Newline, and Yamaha. So we'll kick off with Australian Monitor with the best product name ever, True Blue, our Bluetooth DI. So True Blue is a little Bluetooth receiver in the form factor of a DI. It could live in a sound engineer's backpack as much as it could live behind a TV in a permanent installation. Balanced XLR outputs and unbalanced RCAs as well. And for integration, there's a RS-232 connection for connection to a control system, and also a dedicated little pairing pin, which let's say in a situation where we might be a fitness studio or a gym or something like that, an instructor can just come up, hit a button on the wall to which our pairing pin is connected, and make that connection. So the control side of things with RS-232 allows us to remotely enable or disable the device, set the meeting room so that the mobile device connecting to it knows exactly that they're connected to the correct room or not. And for security, we can remotely update and renew the pin or completely disable the pin if we want just complete open access to it. We can also use it as a speakerphone if you really want. We can enable or disable phone calling support on it. And to top all that off, it also can act as a 3.5mm TRS auxiliary connection to balanced XLR out. So yeah, that kind of fulfills the whole DI functionality of the True Blue. Best product name ever, I reckon. It's Bluetooth version 5.1 with A2DP, so that allows us to send pretty high quality audio from a mobile device through it. The antenna is this little guy down here, the little plastic rectangular piece out the front there. And under ideal conditions, you should be able to get about 200 meters line of sight out of it. Of course, obstructions and weather and congestion in the 2.4 gigahertz band is going to reduce that, but yeah, ideally. And it's a robust device. Like I said, you could easily see this guy touring around inside a backpack of a touring engineer. On Australian Monitor again, so the ZoneMix Series was released last year by Australian Monitor, which I should point out is actually AmberTech, who own the Australian Monitor brand, and our guys Ewan and his team develop Australian Monitor all in-house. And last year we released the ZoneMix Series, which is a series of 4-channel and 4-zone and 8-zone paging and scheduling devices. And just recently, we've had a firmware update to update the scheduler, which I'll run over in a moment. But a quick recap of what the ZoneMix family entails, as you just saw the front and back of the 8-channel version there. But part of the family is the range of wall panels, which connect up with a daisy chain bus to the back of the ZoneMix. And the wall panels, we've got three control wall panels with rotary controllers or buttons or a combination of those. And we've got a couple of wall panels for audio inputs, and we've also got the paging station as well. So the functionality of ZoneMix in a little very cost-effective single RU device like this, there's not much out there that's anywhere close to this functionality for this sort of price. So the task management and the scheduling engine have now been unified with this new firmware update. The task management side of things is fairly straightforward. You set up your tasks. A task might be something as simple as mute input 3 or unmute input 4. And then you can chain those tasks together into big elaborate macros to perform whatever tasks you need. So when we combine that with the scheduling engine, then we can get some really interesting just standalone set and forget functionality happening. Probably the most simple and straightforward example I can think of the scheduler with the task management engine is for a school bell deployment. So you can set up a 365-day schedule for bells, skipping the school holidays and everything, of course. But when we combine that with the GPI pins on the back of the ZoneMix, we can set up systems which have manual override of certain schedules. So, for example, in a school, if we have a wet weather day program, then all that needs to happen is for someone to just flick a switch connected to GPI, and then we can completely change the schedule according to our programming. So for a wet weather day, for example, and we can trigger all of these actions either by GPI or through the scheduler or through any of the buttons on the control wall panels or on the paging station. The paging station can be set up most obviously as a selection of individual zones, or the page, you can set the buttons up to perform actions, to play back messages, to pre-recorded messages on the SD card in the front, for example. So yeah, it really is a very, very functional, very, very cost-efficient way to put together a 4-zone or an 8-zone paging system. Okay, so what else have we got? Oh, hey, the developer mode on the ZoneMix. This is probably my favorite little feature of the ZoneMix. For any of us who have sat there and tried to pour through a protocol document to try to build connection strings for a third-party control system, you know how difficult it can be and how frustrating and time-consuming and slow it can be to manually parse out what the individual commands are to do individual tasks. With developer mode, if we open the developer communication window here, all we need to do on the ZoneMix setup software on PC, for example, is to hit mute input 3, and then we'll see the API control string appear in this developer communication window. We can hit any function using the software, drag the faders, set up our routing, set up all of our behavior. And as we do that, we can see all of the strings appearing in the developer window, and we can just shade those, Control-C and Control-V them over into our control system. So we no longer have to sit there and muck around with a control protocol document. All the strings just appear right in front of us. It's a really, really cool, integrator-friendly feature. Barix. This is another one of my favorites. Barix is a great little Swiss Army knife range of products where we can get audio from pretty much anywhere to anywhere, and RS-232 or GPI communication from anywhere to anywhere by choosing which particular Barix box that we for the particular task. And Barix have recently made available their Dante-enabled variations of some existing products. A really straightforward example of where this could be used if you want to bridge two completely separate Dante networks over SIP, perhaps over the cloud, over an internet connection. A couple of Anunticom MPI 400s on either side of that equation can just easily allow two-way communication between two completely separate Dante networks without having to worry about there being a local LAN connection between, or a Dante domain manager connection, or in a situation where latency is not so important, like school bells or announcements. This is a really, really handy feature. a real-world example of this, down in Melbourne last year, there was a school who expanded into a campus across a highway, and there was no way to dig a trench under the highway to run cabling. And the way that we solved the problem of getting bell tones and announcements to and from the new and the old campus was simply to chuck a couple of Barix boxes, one on either end, and send all of that just through an internet connection. It picked up a little bit of latency, but it was less than half a second, and we ended up with a really, really straightforward, cost-effective solution. Another really interesting application for the new Dante-enabled products is that we can turn pretty much any loudspeaker into a PoE Dante endpoint. So this little guy here, this is the TPA 400. Off a PoE connection, this little guy can run a 5-watt speaker, which is pretty much most of what you're going to need. It's going to solve most of your ceiling speaker or wall-mount speaker applications, where, for announcements or background music, for example. If you need a bit more grunt, the MPA 400 can do 40 watts. This guy needs PoE plus, as you can imagine. But for fairly small packages, this guy's got a DIN rail mount on it, quarter rack, so you can stick it in a rack or just place it in on the back physically on a loudspeaker. You might have seen the TPA 400's got these little mounting slots, so there's not really many places you couldn't mount this, quite honestly. So yeah, any speaker now can be a PoE Dante speaker. Really, really cost-effective way to turn any kind of speaker into not just PoE Dante loudspeaker, but you've also got two-way communication. You might have noticed there's microphone pins on both of these devices. So for a door station, for example, if you want talk back to a remote location, this is a really, really compelling, cost-effective solution for that. And this little diagram, which I won't point out the whole lot of it, but it gives you the picture of what Barix can do. They can get control, GPI, and audio from anywhere to anywhere, be that analog or USB or SIP or Dante or Synapse mass notification. Like I said, it's a Swiss Army knife is Barix, and we can now integrate that with Dante. I think around the middle of last year, or late last year, Yamaha announced their wireless conference microphone family, which adds to their existing ADECIA family. So the ADECIA family is now a really, really comprehensive, compelling, unified comms solution. And the wireless part of that family is now become available in Australia. So the RMW series consists of the wireless access point, this little guy here in white, which is available as an 8-channel or 16-channel receiver. That's PoE Dante, and it's paintable, so you don't necessarily need to keep the guy in a rack somewhere away from the transmitters. Obviously, you want the receiver close to the transmitters, so it can be painted. It runs on the DECT band, and my experience with DECT is that the DECT spectrum has just become more and more and more vacant as people no longer need the DECT band for what was traditionally mostly occupied by office phones and landlines phones and so forth. The most recent firmware update to the RMW series adds to their wizard. There's an RF site scan, and the wizard, when you implement it, the first thing it will do is scan the DECT band and let you know how crowded it is, how many more audio channels you can fit in there. And here in Heidelberg, where I am in Melbourne, it came up with something like 760 channels I was able to theoretically put on that band, which thankfully we don't need. So if I look at the specific devices that are available, we've got 4. There's the omnidirectional little tabletop mic and a cardioid version as well. The cardioid version looks very similar, except only half of the top of it is perforated. All of the Omni guy is perforated. And there's also two two desktop microphones. This is the 12-inch desktop mic, and there's a 6-inch one as well, which is half the size, of course. And we can mix and match according to the needs of the installation. We can mix and match as many as we want within the capabilities of the receiver, if we want them all to be Omni or all to be desktop or so forth. Really, really straightforward setup when the Wizard is run in conjunction with the room controller, the RMCR. All of the assignment of the radio channels takes place automatically. All of the Dante patching happens automatically. And if we're using the VXL 1-16 PoE column array speakers, we have a fully Teams certified solution. So we can deploy perfectly Teams certified solutions with a Wizard, with a push of a button. It's a really, really easy, straightforward way to implement really, really high quality solutions. And this goes alongside our existing CG ceiling tile microphone solution, which is also Teams certified when used in the ADECIA family, which you happen to be listening to me now on. This is the CG that I'm using because I like to move around. And if I don't have a tracking mic, then I'll be fading in and out. So next up is RTI. So RTI at ISE just gone earlier this year, they released their intelligent meetings range, which consists of only 3 products. But once again, it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife where we can use these 3 products in conjunction with RTI's world-renowned control systems to build out very complex or very small meeting room solutions very, very effectively and very quickly. This is a product range that's aimed squarely at integrators and customers who are looking for a very straightforward solution, easy to use, that can just be deployed at scale with very little effort. As you can imagine, the integration between the IVB50 video bar and RTI's range of control processors, the KX4 wall panel or the bigger XP series, it's very straightforward. It's a matter of drag and drop on the software. And this allows things like straightforward little huddle rooms like this to be put together very quickly, as well as very large conference rooms. In this diagram, we've got a couple of the EXM extension mics. We can daisy chain up to 8 of those if we want. And we can throw in a KX4 wall panel processor or even a desktop touchscreen. And then with very little programming effort, we've got a very, very powerful system. Now, connectivity-wise, you're not going to be left wanting at all. The IVB50, for wired, we've got USB-C. For wireless, we've got there's Miracast and AirPlay built into the device, and we've also got there's the MXT little dongle as well. So there's as many ways as you're ever going to need to get in and out of the IVB50. And as I said, it's a quality solution. It's a very good quality solution. They sound good. There's a mic array on the front for talker tracking. And there's also tracking inside the 4K camera, tracking behind the 4K camera as well. So yeah. Last but not least, I told you this would be a quick update because everyone's keen to get out to their Easter holidays, I'm sure. But I did want to highlight the Newline Z Series, which is now available in Australia. Newline, I use Newline most days. It's this is Amber's brand of interactive flat panel displays as well as non-touch displays. Newline is a very high quality manufacturer. I'm very happy to say that our failure rate for Newline is very, very low, especially considering the kinds of environments that we sell a lot of these panels into. These guys are rated for 24/7 operation for 50,000 hours, so they're not mucking around. The Z Series is a very thin bezel, very high quality corporate looking display. It's optically bonded with capacitive touch, so it feels as solid and as solid like an iPad, a really high quality device. You know, you feel that positivity when your finger hits the screen. You know, there are other high quality brands out there, but I'm well aware of the spectrum of quality when I walk up to most interactive flat panel displays these days, and you know, you touch them and they flex and they're wobbly. You know, Newline really should be a go-to option if you have a client or a customer who's looking for something that looks great, it's nice and bright, nice and punchy, and is very, very high quality to touch. Newline also make the NT series, which is their non-touch series of panels. Very, very, once again, very, very high quality, nice and bright, very, very cost competitive, and with a very, very low failure rate. We're very happy to represent this brand. So that is it for me. Have a great Easter, stay safe, and we'll see you next month. Take care.